Hello everyone, I'm Chef Ange. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my kitchen. On today's episode, I want to show you a fabulous chicken dish. This is bourbon chicken. Bourbon chicken is a crowd favorite at every shopping mall in America. The food court always has this in there. It's got a really nice sauce. It's usually served on top of a bed of rice, and it's a deceptively easy dish. Once I show you the ingredients, you're gonna find you already have most of them in your house and in your pantry. If you'd like the full printed recipe, check the description box below. You can copy and paste that, and let's get cooking. You're gonna want your rice ready as soon as this chicken is done, so let's get the rice going. So I'm gonna take this jasmine rice that I washed and drained, and we're gonna put some water and a little bit of oil and just a pinch of salt. I like to make my rice in advance because once the rice is done, you want it to sit there for about 10 minutes to kind of steam off the heat. It really adds the rice a nice texture. So the preferred cut of chicken that we're going to use is going to be our boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and ensure that they are boneless. Inspect your chicken thighs to make sure there's no bone fragments. Get rid of them if you see them. So now we're going to season this with some oil and a little bit of my base seasoning, and that's a blend of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. There's a link to the recipe video in the description. When I'm making chicken, I always put smoked paprika on there too, in addition to that base seasoning. I probably should just throw that right inside the base seasoning at this point. Now we're going to put a unique ingredient. This is a Chinese 5-spice powder. I love this stuff. It's super potent. It's got a really nice, wonderful flavor, and it really tastes like a lot of the Asian food that you're familiar with. So we're also going to put in a little bit of oil just to help loosen up those spices, and now we're going to give this a mix by hand until the oil and the spices are well coated. We're going to set that aside for about 20 minutes just so the chicken comes up to room temperature and the spices have time to bloom inside that oil and really bring out their full flavor. We're going to chop up some garlic, and then we're also going to put some fresh ginger in there. The best tip that I can give you for using fresh ginger is to use a spoon. So you can use one end of the spoon to get out all those little nooks and crannies, and you can just rub the other side of the spoon on the skin to remove peelers are less desirable. So now we're going to chop up this ginger nice and fine, because just like the garlic, we don't even want to notice it's in the sauce. We just want it to blend throughout and just give really fast flavor. And fresh ginger is so much better than the powdered stuff, but if you only have the powdered stuff, I guess you could use that. And now, while we got our knife and our cutting board out, let's chop up our scallions that we're going to garnish this dish with at the end. You want to try to do all your prepping all together. So now let's try to get some nice brown, beautiful color on these chicken thighs. So I got this cast iron pan hot over a medium-high heat, added a little bit of oil, and now we're going to lay these down flat side down, and I'm pushing them into the cast iron pan to make sure that they're getting really good contact so they can get that nice brown color. And I'm not going to move them around in the pan. I'm going to let them sit there and brown up. The whole purpose of this step is to get flavors that aren't even there. So when you can brown chicken, make sure you're getting your pan hot enough so you're getting that brown sear on the outside. If you're noticing that there's any cold spots in the pan, like one piece of chicken's not cooking as fast as the other ones, give those a little flip-flop. But once you get that nice brown, beautiful color on both sides, we're going to pull these out. If some of the chicken thigh is not fully cooked, that's totally okay. Once we get a second batch in and we get brown color on both sides, so not to overcrowd the pan, we're going to chop these up, and if there's any pieces that are a little bit raw, they're going to finish in the sauce beautifully. So once again, in a second batch, we're going to throw down these chicken thighs, and I always suggest work in batches. Don't overcrowd your pans. If you overcrowd the pan, there is no chance of you getting any color. The chicken's just going to steam, and then it's just going to look pale, and you're missing out on really big-time flavor. And here at Chef Ange, no flavors left behind. So once we get nice brown color on both sides, we're going to pull these off the heat, and we're going to give them a few minutes to cool down so we can handle them and chop them up. Leave the pan just like that because that's where we're going to build our sauce. So I'm just going to shut the heat off the pan, and we can come back to that later. So once those are cool enough to handle, we're going to take a sharp knife and we're going to cut them down into chunks. Most of this chicken should be cooked all the way through, but if you're finding that there are some pieces that are not fully cooked, that's totally fine. Once we build that sauce, this chicken's all going back inside that sauce. It's going to cook all the way through. So don't get scared. You didn't do anything wrong. And you can move as fast as you like. Just make sure you don't put any fingers inside the chicken. And another reminder that the no flavors left behind policy is a very strict policy. So any juices that collect on that plate, make sure you throw it right on top of that chicken. So now we're going to turn this pan over a medium heat, and I'm going to put that ginger and garlic in there to start to cook down. And while those are releasing moisture, I'm going to scrape the bottom of the pan to reclaim any of those flavors. So now we're going to add in our bourbon. Some of these bourbon chicken recipes don't even have bourbon in it. I'm definitely putting bourbon in bourbon chicken, and this step is completely optional, but if you wanted to, just tilt that pan over, crank up the heat, let it burn, and remember, you don't have to move it around, but you can totally skip this step if this scares you a little bit. And now we're going to put in some soy sauce, a little apple cider vinegar, put that rest of that fire out. And now this is the ingredient that I see in almost all the bourbon chicken recipes, apple juice. So we're going to put a little bit of apple juice in there, and that's going to be the base of the sauce. And now we're going to keep scraping and keep mixing, and all that brown is going to start to dissolve inside the liquid and start to release its flavor. In goes a little bit of ketchup, and now we're going to throw in the ultimate flavor enhancer, that beef bouillon paste. It goes really, really nice with this recipe. Adds that nice umami flavor. And now in goes some brown sugar for some sweetness. And now we're going to mix until we get the brown sugar, the ketchup, and that beef bouillon paste in there. And if it's not working with a spoon, you can always just take out a whisk. And whisking always helps mix things a little bit better than you could with like a spoon or a spatula. Once that liquid in the pan comes up to a little boil, we're going to reduce the heat to low. We're going to add some crushed red pepper for a little bit of heat, or as much as your digestive system can handle. Some black pepper, and a pinch or two of salt. And now we're going to whisk those together. To thicken up this sauce, instead of using some flour, I've been into using some of these gluten-free thickeners. This is guar gum, just a pinch and a little bit of a whisk, and the sauce gets a really, really nice silky consistency. So now let's take that chopped up chicken and return it back to its home and start to give it the sauce treatment. And we're just going to keep mixing it in the sauce to make sure it's really well coated. And once it's well coated, we're going to cover it up with a cover. We're going to put the heat on low, and we're going to let this simmer for like 10 to 15 minutes to let the chicken thighs get super duper tender. After about 10 to 15 minutes, these are good to go. And I can't emphasize how much you need to toss this with the sauce, because the sauce is the star of the show, and you want it completely coating the chicken at all times. So I love serving stuff in cast iron, so if you make it in a cast iron pan, this is how it should hit the table. But right before it hits the table, once again, give it the sauce treatment, toss it around. This sauce is so beautiful, and this chicken is absolutely wonderful. In come those scallion greens that we cut up before. We're going to throw those on top, and this is ready to go. You can serve this just like this. How I suggest you eat is we get that rice from before that's been sitting out. It's at the perfect consistency right now. We're going to put that inside of a plate. We're going to give it a little bit of a well in the middle so that chicken and that sauce has some place to sit. And now we're going to spoon on nice big portions of that chicken, tossing it in the sauce to make sure every piece and every nook and cranny is covered in the sauce. And if I haven't said sauce enough, here comes the sauce. Make sure you get a nice big spoonful on top and a little bit of those scallion greens. How beautiful is this dish? This thing looks absolutely amazing, and I am so hungry right now. A deceptively easy and delicious dish.
All right, let's give this a shot and let's see what this tastes like. I'm really excited to try it. It smells absolutely wonderful. So making sure that we're getting a little bit in this bite. Beautiful saucy chicken. Wonderful rice to collect all that sauce on the bottom. This is really, really good. It's sweet. It's got a little bit of spice to it. It's got that nice bourbon note coming through. The chicken is perfectly tender. I love the sauciness. I love the sweetness. This is absolutely wonderful. One more bite. And look at this chicken. I mean, it's got that nice crust on it, so it gives that flavor. Ooh, I'm just getting some nice heat from that little red pepper. Right through that sweetness. Well, I'm Chef Ange. This is my bourbon chicken. It's really, really good. I hope this makes your dinner table. Let me know in the comments section how it comes out. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. And if this was a good video, give the like button a little love. Let me know in the comments section what you think, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.